Top-tier moves a man uses when another man tries to take his woman. The real truth men don't hear. Most men misunderstand situations like this completely. When another man shows interest in a woman they care about, their first instinct is usually emotional. They think, I need to step in immediately. I need to show dominance. I need to prove I'm better. I need to protect my position. But here's what they don't realize. The moment you react emotionally, you are no longer leading the situation. You are reacting to it. And reactive behavior is almost always driven by insecurity, not strength. Because real masculine confidence is not tested when everything is calm. It is tested when pressure appears. And in moments like this, what gets exposed is not dominance. It is emotional control. Because attraction is not maintained through force. It is maintained through behavior, presence, and composure. And most men lose silently in these situations not because they are weak, but because they don't understand timing, energy, and emotional discipline. So this is not about jealousy. This is not about ego. This is about how high-level men maintain control of themselves when external attention tries to disturb their internal balance. 1. Why most men lose control immediately. Let's break down the average reaction. A man sees another guy talking to his woman. Immediately, his heart rate changes. His thoughts speed up. His emotions take over. He starts interpreting everything negatively. He begins thinking, why is she smiling like that? Why is he so close to her? Is she losing interest? Am I about to be replaced? This is emotional flooding. And emotional flooding destroys rational thinking. Because once emotion takes over, logic disappears. Now, he is no longer observing reality. He is interpreting fear. And fear-based interpretation always leads to overreaction. This is where most men lose attraction without realizing it. Not because of what the other man did, but because of how they reacted internally. 2. The first top-tier move, stillness before response. High-value men never react immediately. They pause. They observe. They stabilize internally before doing anything externally. This is called emotional delay control. Let's use a real-life example. Two men are at a social event. Their partners are speaking to another man. Low-value reaction. Walking over immediately. Interrupting the conversation. Changing tone. Trying to assert dominance. High-value reaction. Staying where he is. Observing calmly. Reading body language. Not jumping to conclusions. The difference is not physical. It is internal control. Because the strongest men are not reactive. They are deliberate. And deliberate energy is always more powerful than impulsive energy. 3. Why competition energy always backfires. Most men believe they must compete in situations like this. But competition energy is one of the fastest ways to lose attraction. Why? Because competition reveals insecurity. When a man starts trying to outperform another man, forcing jokes, speaking louder, overperforming socially, interrupting interactions, he is no longer being natural. He is reacting emotionally. An emotional reaction destroys grounded presence. Now compare two scenarios. Scenario A. A man starts competing socially, trying to win attention. Scenario B. A man remains calm, grounded, and unbothered. Which one feels more powerful? Not the loud one, not the performer, but the man who does not need to compete. Because true confidence does not announce itself. It is felt. 4. The second top-tier move. Observation without assumption. One of the biggest mistakes men make is assuming meaning too quickly. He sees a conversation, a smile, laughter, proximity, and instantly creates a story. She likes him more. I'm losing her. This is a threat. But high-value men don't assume. They observe. They ask internally, is this interaction actually emotional or just social? Is her behavior consistent or situational? Is there real shift in attraction or just normal conversation? Because perception is often misleading. An emotional interpretation is not truth. It is reaction. High-value men separate what is happening from what they feel about what is happening. That separation is emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence prevents unnecessary chaos. 5. The third top-tier move, maintaining identity. Most men lose themselves in these moments. They shift identity instantly, become colder, become aggressive, become overly serious, become controlling, become insecure. But high-value men do not change identity under pressure. They stay consistent. Let's break this down. If a man is naturally calm, funny, relaxed, grounded, then under pressure, he does not suddenly become aggressive, paranoid, unstable, because that shift destroys authenticity. Women feel identity shifts immediately, and nothing kills attraction faster than emotional inconsistency. Consistency builds trust. Inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion weakens attraction. 6. The fourth top-tier move, internal control over external control. Low-value men try to control the situation externally. Who she talks to, how she behaves, what the other man does, what people think. But high-value men focus internally first, because external control without internal control is useless. A real example, a man feels threatened and tries to interrupt or pull her away, but internally he is still insecure. So even if he controls the situation physically, emotionally, he has already lost stability. Now compare that to a man who stays calm internally, doesn't panic, doesn't overreact, remains grounded. That man doesn't need to control anything externally because his internal state is already stable, and stability creates authority. 7. The fifth top-tier move, self-respect under pressure. This is where most men completely fail. They begin over-explaining, chasing attention, trying to prove worth, tolerating disrespect, lowering standards, all because they feel emotional fear of loss. But high-value men never abandon self-respect. Self-respect looks like not reacting emotionally, not begging for attention, not competing for validation, not trying to force loyalty, not losing identity, because self-respect communicates power silently, and power does not need explanation. It is observed. The real lesson most men never learn. At the deepest level, these situations are not about another man. They are about emotional control under pressure, because what is being tested is stability, confidence, identity, discipline, emotional independence. Most men fail not because another man is better, but because they react emotionally too fast. They lose internal control before anything external happens. But high-value men understand something simple. You cannot control external attention. You can only control internal response. An internal response determines outcome perception, because people don't respond to your words in situations like this. They respond to your energy. And energy is shaped by your calmness, your reactions, your emotional discipline, your consistency. That is what creates respect. That is what maintains attraction. And that is what separates grounded men from reactive men. Because in the end, the man who stays calm under pressure is always the man who maintains control of himself. And the man who maintains control of himself maintains everything else naturally. Click the subscribe button, like, share, and follow for more.